Pretty miniatures of what a community might have looked like. Here, this looks reminiscent, doesn't it, of where we were yesterday at Tambo. Remember that two sides there? Although there was not that gate that we see there in that corner. And the house stands over what was up there, an actual well. But maybe this alludes to it. That gives us an idea of what the walkway would have looked like. Notice that it had little walls, so it was very much finished in the context of their technology. And notice the terraces. These probably shows different time eras. This a very early time when the ancient ones, as in Utah, lived in caves like Mesa Verde because they gave good protection. Here another old culture with a pretty significant pathway to the top that may have been a religious site. Maybe those two little houses represented those of priests or important people, while the rest lived down below. As I walk around this, you can imagine that this might have been some kind of either religious ceremony, since this a tombe, a tomb. Here a local market, typical house like we saw Numismatico in Quito, and a typical village layout. Notice the two different styles of structure. Here, the last one that we'll look at has a different kind of a structure. It was more open. This representing some kind of, it looks like a copper something or other. Certainly a religious ceremony with the chief honchos at the top. The graphics on this cup are pretty, and they're quite distinct, well preserved. The design of this bowl reminds me of an idea I had for a bowl for salads, in which there would be a hole at the bottom for salad dressing to drain down into a cup below, and which you would then use to pour back up on top, so that you fully get the benefit of that dressing. And we're not sure what these tools are or were for. They're about 3, maybe 4 inches long of the largest. The detail's interesting. Primitive stone tools and arrowheads. I think we're going to the Numiastic Money Museum. Another major building in this complex is a bank. And yes, that's where we're going. Tucked off in the hallway, curiously, is this beautiful loom exhibit. Notice it's a man running it in this instance. This is a fairly sophisticated one compared to many, if not most, that we've seen in this country so far. Ice cream street vendor's bicycle. It's an interesting device for teaching diversity, isn't it? If you had something like this that pivoted with many faces of different colors and body sizes and so forth, that's a splendid idea, actually. Now, some of the interesting history and, of course, counterpoint to what we're seeing right now is the fact that in Ecuador today, almost the only money used is U.S. I did encounter what's dime-sized coin that I was given. I'm guessing, since I don't have a magnifying glass, that it's Ecuadorian. So I asked why there's nothing in English in this entire museum, not just the Numismatic, which we're in now. And the retort was, friendly enough, that this is public, and the Aboriginal Museum, not laid out as nicely, or I should say not as ensconced in as nice a building, had a lot of English. We were reduced to looking at curiosities to us. Again, there's no explanation of why this is in this museum on money. Temporary exhibition on grand cacao, grand chocolate, or big chocolate. And my guess is we'll take little if nothing from this exhibit. Interestingly enough, this is the only place of interest to a tourist in Maine, and it has English. This excavated and preserved structure was a Kallanka, a large structure that housed oftentimes the supplies for the military troops that were being moved back and forth along the Inca road. Assume this is Inca. And occasionally soldiers would stay overnight in these structures. This vast expanse was here, I assume it was, and a large parade ground, or whether it was filled with structures, I don't know. This looks to be part of a water aqueduct system, and it flows down here, and notice that some comes in from this point, so probably something was over here. In fact, throughout this area there may have been a lot more structure than is now extant. Presumably these are more of those many long structures, as they would have had perhaps internal support posts, as well as perhaps dividing walls. Since you see here's an entrance and there's another entrance over here. There's a aqueduct along here, unless it's also just drainage. It's this wider section for some reason here. Don't know what that was before. Waved off of that grass, although there's nothing that tells me I can't be over there. Even there's a bench on the grass, so this is typical South America. In third world countries can be very exasperating when you're trying to do the right thing and their incompetence misleads you. Notice this goes right down there across to there. If that isn't a telling point that you go that way, I don't know what is. We have no idea what this is over here. These were architectural blocks situated in important cities of Tawantinsuyo. They were like a convent inhabited by the Akakuna, chosen women, directed by the Mamakuna, a class of abbess, who initiated the young women in religious life and also in the production of the textiles and innumerable activities of the service of the governing elite. And I can only imagine what that phrase includes. The logical pathway that appears to be used, which is right there. There's a wall there that's not restored upward, if it were up wall, large wall. Probably just retaining that higher elevation. Top of this ruin area. I'm going to keep walking on the grass because that's the only logical way to see anything. Interesting structure here. It's at the wall, and if this were a fortress, it would be at the corner. But notice those are rounded corners, and that's kind of rounded there, and this is rounded. This is pretty much a straight wall, but it kind of reminds me of the oval we saw at